Hey everybody. It's a wonderful Tuesday evening here in Central Florida, and we've got a fun show for you. A gentleman who's been in the chat for a while, been picking up some art and some of our art drops and art sales and dueling dealers episodes is going to be with us tonight. But thanks for tuning in early. Number one Marvel fan, you know we're going to miss you at Heroes. I saw you let us all know that it's confirmed you will not be traveling to Charlotte this weekend, and that's unfortunate. But we'll be thinking about you while we're hanging around and socializing, and I'm sure we'll get together sometime soon after that. Gabe Carino, we emailed earlier, so I know we won't see you at Heroes, but there's always a future show here or there, right? So let me bring in the gentleman who we're going to be chatting with tonight, and that's Michael Elpers or Mike Elpers. So it's Mike, right? We're going to go with Mike tonight.
I respond to either. It's fine.
No formalities. That's all right. We'll keep
No,
keep it easy. So, I got to ask you, I was looking at your CAF, and I think I don't know if I wrote it in the description or not, but, you've had a CAF account for over 10 years, but you didn't start posting art until the last year and a half, 2 years. Why was that? You were a lurker for 8 years.
Well, yes. So my collecting of art has sort of taken place in the last few years and then in the 80s and 90s and not a whole lot in between. And I discovered CAF tooling around the internet, looking for things. I may even have been just kind of going through my art at that point and trying to get more information about the art and like what was going on. And then I just didn't really do much with it. I didn't kind of get back into collecting, or I didn't buy any more. I didn't decide to sell anything. So I signed up for the site. I wasn't quite sure what it was about, and I didn't take the time to really learn about it at the time. So it was only the last few years that I had the time and the resources to actually get back into it.
Well, we're going to have to get your origin story then, because what was the first piece of art you picked up? If it was, pre-CAF, sounds like.
Very first piece of art, that's going to be hard for me to remember. I think if you look on there, I have just kind of a line drawing of Nightcrawler on there that I probably picked up at a con for $5 or something. I'm pretty sure that was the first piece. When I started,
John Romita Jr.
Sorry,
the John Romita Jr.
Yes.
Okay. We'll show that off, because that's not one of the pieces in your
It's
set.
It's not. I had a hard time picking what to talk about, but yeah. So that's probably one of the earliest ones. This is 93. That might actually be a little later. Man, because I started picking up art in the mid to late 80s because I was working for a small comic book shop local to the DC area here at the time. And we were working shows, and I was going to some, but I never really went to shows outside of the DC suburbs. So the artists that I was exposed to were always kind of the same ones. I have a whole bunch of stuff from Tom Grinberg, because his stuff was always available. He was there frequently. The only, I would go up into Pennsylvania once or twice, down to Richmond a couple of times, but mostly it was just around DC.
But art was on your radar in the late 80s?
It was, partially because I was good friends with the owner of this comic shop. He was trying to get a shop up and running. And so he started actually in like this flea market. And a good friend of mine from high school was working for him after he graduated. He was a few years older than I was. And so I was helping out there a little bit. We'd run up to the distributor and get books once a week, and 3 a.m. kind of a thing. And I was helping out in shows, things of that nature.
So you were easy, kind of affordable labor, and
exactly.
But the art side of things, you're working for, you do work for the comic shop, but how does that lead into art, though? I mean, was the shop owner, did they have some art on the wall? I mean, like a lot of comic
he did. He bought and sold some. He had some. I bought from him and ended up trading some stuff to him from time to time. But I think I learned about it at one of the shows, and it was kind of fascinating to me. Like, this is what goes into making these comic books that I've been reading, and just seeing that art in this huge, format, and knowing it was a one of a kind, and that kind of really intrigued me, and kind of the way the comic books were made. I have a color master from one of the X-Men books and some other, kind of production stuff over the years. I don't think I have most of that anymore, but I know somebody who had one of the plates,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And I was just kind of fascinated about the whole process for a while. And not being at all artistic myself, I love talking to the artists and how they did it and how, so that was all part of the process. And I liked picking up these pieces because I don't know, it was different.
But so, were these first pieces published pieces? I mean, you're talking about published pieces here, but was it convention sketches that you were getting, or was it
I
published stuff that
started
you
with
were
some
picking up
convention
early?
sketches, yes. There were a couple of published pieces. I think the Conan piece that we're going to look at tonight was one of my first published pieces.
Oh, that was a good place to start. That was,
Yes,
yeah, that
yes.
was a really nice one.
And I think one or two of other Grinbergs were probably the earliest ones because his stuff was there and very affordable from what I remember. Um, and then there's a Legion page that was pretty early. Um, yeah, so I picked up stuff. There wasn't a whole lot to select from usually. It's just whatever the artist kind of had with them. And I didn't know anything about it, so I just picked up things that I thought were cool. Books I liked, or like in the Conan piece, it was for Savage Sword, so it was a black and white, and so there was a little bit of coloration in it. That's the first time I'd seen that. Was one of the reasons I picked that page up. And I just kind of learned a little bit about it as going over, doing this stuff for years. But then I had kids, and I stopped going to cons, and my money went elsewhere. And went back and forth between collecting comics here and there over the years, but I never got back into the art side of it until a few years ago. I sold a bunch of comic books, kind of cherry picked, sold a bunch of the high profile stuff, and did that at the Baltimore Comic Con in 2023.
Hmm.
And I actually ended up buying a piece from Anthony there, as well as one of the books we'll look at from Adam Hughes, and that just kind of opened the floodgates and got me back into it, and it's been all downhill since then.
So that's a long time to be out of, collecting art or being, in comics with the kids there, right? So early 90s until
Yeah,
2023, you're almost out of it for 28, 30 years. And
thereabouts. Yeah, yeah. So, my
but you
my
held on to the art, though. That's the curious thing, right? So you're talking about 2023, Baltimore, kind of coming back into it, but you had your CAF account in like 2015, so there was
yeah,
interest there, but enough to do that. But you were still, out of buying artwork and not really, engaging in anything. But back to the early days, though. I mean, was there any other than the shop owner? Was there any other, friend you had that was picking up sketches or published pieces? Somebody that you could have any camaraderie with at all?
no,
No.
no. Well, I take that back. There was a friend of mine in college who he was a bit of an artist himself, but just amateur. And so he and I connected on that a little bit. In fact, the piece where the death page from Bucklow that I have, he and I
Mhm.
were at a con. That's probably the last con I went to, actually. And that was 93 or so. Somewhere in there was probably one of the last ones. He used to help us out in some of the shop stuff too. So he did a little bit. He would pick up the occasional convention sketch as well. But he didn't do any published art. He didn't do anything big.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, a lot of times getting sketches was all about getting that opportunity to talk to the artist, right? Meet them,
exactly.
get something signed at the same time, and if you were lucky, maybe get a head sketch or something. It was a little bit different back then.
It really
I
was.
think.
And those were more affordable too,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, I mean, the first time I went to San Diego, I got a free head sketch from Jim Lee. I
oh,
mean,
nice.
that'll never happen today. Oh man, yeah, no, I know those were the days. But see, you were before me because I didn't start collecting art until 97, 98,
Okay.
you know, around that period. So you were done. You were 5 years out and sort of in retirement there.
Yes, temporary retirement anyway.
So you could blame Anthony partially for sucking you back in Baltimore in
Yeah,
2023.
yeah. And this friend of mine that I went up to, he's on CAF actually. My friend Matt, he's a big collector of art as well. And he grew up in California in the 80s and 90s and was involved in the whole distributor side of stuff. And so he had access to all kinds of interesting things. And he also is a collector of Disney stuff. So he's someone that I got friendship with about 10 years ago or so, a little bit more. So that kind of helped as well. And he and I go to Baltimore Car in the last couple of years together. So I do have someone now that is on the art side that I interface with.
Right, you gotta.
Yeah.
These
It
days,
makes it more
but
fun.
no, of course. Well, Baltimore's a good show for for art collectors. There is a lot of artists that go there. I mean, it's a good show. Anthony's always there. I think
Yep.
I mean, last year Joe Melchior was there. I think with Buckingham. So,
Yeah.
it does attract a few reps, and yeah, no, and that like you said, that's the area that you're in. So Baltimore is probably the best show. Have you ever thought about going to Terrificon?
I haven't been to that one. No, I do occasionally go to AwesomeCon as well.
Where's that? I mean, I've heard of it a ton, but I have no idea where it is.
That's in DC, actually.
It's in DC. Okay.
David Mack's been there the last couple of years, and he's Michael Golden was there last year. I got a piece from let's see. Now, I am horrible with names, so give me a second here. I got a few pieces there actually. There's one from I can't remember her first name. Emma Kubert.
Oh
I
yeah.
got a couple of pieces from her. That was nice. Anyway, everyone I've talked to, all the artists I've talked to at all these shows have been just fantastic. They always are so nice to talk to and interesting stories, and always great to help you out.
So, I see you have art on the walls, and this
Mhm.
you mentioned to me when we got started. This is not normally where you would, be sitting for, working on your computer. But did you have art on the walls even during that period when you weren't collecting, or is this so? This is all kind of new, right?
So yeah, all my art was tucked away until recently, and when I got back into this, I redecorated my living room, and that's where I am now, actually. And so I took all these as I was getting these pieces in. I wanted to get them framed and display them, and so this is turned in my art wall here.
Not bad. So, are you framing them yourself, or do you take them somewhere to get them professionally framed?
I get them online from a place that uses museum quality, glass and stuff, and so it's all custom built. Um, um, so it works pretty well. Yeah.
You're able to specify the mat size and
Oh yeah.
all that. Okay. No, I've never done that. So, but I've heard about it. I've never. What's your platform of choice?
Frame Destination,
Okay.
I believe is what it's called. Let me double check that. That is, they do a pretty good job. Yeah, that's them.
Right. It looks like a lot of the pieces on your back wall we're going to be talking about tonight.
Mhm.
So we don't
Yeah.
need to do a tour. Can see them all during that. Um, well, that's cool though. So the last couple of years, I mean, we've seen you in the chat. I mean, so what really brought you back to CAF then? I mean, like you said, you joined 10 years ago, didn't really have, weren't sure what to do with the account, and then you start posting in 2024. I mean, what was the I guess the reasoning behind that? I mean, had you it's after the Baltimore show certainly, but
Yeah.
um, what kind of
Um,
brought you out?
so after I decided to get back into the hobby, I started looking around again and realized, oh, here's this comic art fan site, and one of the first things that came up in a search, and I remember this. And when I first saw I'm a web developer myself, and the site looks when I saw it when I signed up for it in 2015, it looked like it was built in the early 2000s or something, and so I wasn't sure
Thank
how
you.
active it was, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but once I dug into it and realized, oh, here's this guy I just bought, this Frank Thorne from, and he's on there, and really dug into it. And I talked to my friend Matt about it. He'd been on there for a long time. Some of his stuff was up there. So I decided, hey, this is a good way to put all my stuff up, kind of organize it, make some notes about it, and start keeping, because the metadata that's available when you post actually helps me out. And that's one of the things that's kind of kept me going, and just having it out there for people to see and talk about and communicate about. So
Sure. And again, so you've been in the chat. You picked up some artwork through different shows. I know. I mean, I can see, like, I think wasn't the Peach
Yeah, there's
Momoko?
several pieces up here that came from CAF live shows or
Yeah,
Dueling Dealers.
nothing wrong with that. Yep. All hail Massafara, says Seamus. Yes, we know. Massafara is locked up in Berkey's, I don't know, guest room, probably
Mm.
someplace at least, semi pleasant, so he can continue to work properly with lots of light. um, well, that's awesome. So, have you ever been to Heroes? You heard
I haven't been
a
to
lot of
Heroes,
us.
no.
That's one that you should put on your list. I mean,
Where is that
I
exactly?
guess they should be promoting OAX first, but Heroes is definitely, it's a little closer for you. It's a shorter
Mm.
trip than getting down to Central Florida, but Heroes is a really fun show. We're looking forward to. I mean, but it was up. It's not Father's Day weekend this time around, but when I was growing up, it's always on Father's Day, or when my kids were younger. So we'd always make a trip, hit the con, hit Myrtle Beach, and do stuff. So it's been around a while. It's fun. The guy who runs it, I mean, there's over 200 artists at the show. I
Okay.
mean, it's unprecedented, the amount of
Wow.
effort the guy puts into keeping the show focused on comics and comic book artwork. And you know, I don't. He's not like really too far fetched in his marketing when he says it's America's favorite, Comic Con, because I think if you've been to it, you'll almost feel like it's your favorite, because he has literally no entertainers there, so there's no lines for any kind of signing of any kind, and it's 100% focused on just comics and fun. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, but
We'll check that out sometime.
it should be on your list, definitely.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I'm considering OAX next year because that's on my birthday weekend. So seems like a
oh,
good
that's
thing
right.
to-
Okay, good. Well, that's so the date didn't work for you in January.
well, there was some other stuff going on. Yeah, I wasn't able to do it this last year or this last time. So
Got it. Well, yeah, it was funny. The first year we had great weather, and then the second year we had terrible weather,
mm,
and so we didn't really look to move to February, but the hotel needed that. And then after the bad weather in the second show, we felt it's a better move. 1 month makes a whole lot of difference down here in
okay.
Florida.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the chat. Everybody, I got new glasses.
Oh,
Everybody's giving me crap about
that's
my
what's
hair.
different.
Hey,
Okay.
I got new glasses. If you want me to put my old glasses back on, they're actually in a case in the house, so I can't, to make them all feel more comfortable. But that's why there's a difference, different look. Sorry, it's glary. But anyway, well, I mean, I feel like we should probably look at the artwork, because I think a lot of us know a bit of most about you from the artwork that you've been picking up on the shows, and then also the pieces that you've been posting into your CAF, and there's a synergy there, that we've seen. So and you did pick a few extra pieces to talk about. So I'm curious if one of these first pieces. Well, you mentioned the Adam Hughes. I'm gonna do them in the order that you gave them to me,
Okay.
and we'll start off with the Batman remark.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been doing the last few years is sending books off to be remarked or sketch covers done and everything through CGC. It's not necessarily the most cost effective, but I kind of like doing it because I send them off and it takes them so long to get back to me. I forget what I've ordered. But I sent these two in. I'm a huge Ambush Bug fan. And so for a lot of the remarks, sometimes I'll ask for Ambush Bug and give the artist another option if they don't want to do Ambush Bug. Not all the artists have come back with Ambush Bug remarks, but these are my two favorite ones. This one from Pat Gleason, where he used Ambush Bug in the negative space of Batman's cloak, I thought was just absolutely a great use of this cover. And he made such a fun, happy Ambush Bug. This is amazing. And if I ever see Pat at a show, I'm going to have to thank him for this because it's a lot of fun.
I saw from your CAF that you have an affinity for Ambush Bug. Is
Yes.
it one of your favorite characters?
Yeah, I loved him. I was laughing my ass off at him, back when he was originally being published. And so when I was going to even some of the early con stuff, I was asking for Ambush Bug. There's one from Grinberg and there's one from the Dark One, which is a little risque. But I've just always loved getting them. And the artists either are like, who? or they're like, oh, I love Ambush Bug. There's nothing in between.
They either love him or they hate him, right?
Yeah, or they just don't know who he is. Especially the younger ones. I've had to look up when I've gone to some of the shows. They've had to look him up.
Well, I'm not a DC guy, so I'm not. I know the character. If I see them, I know nothing about them.
Gotcha.
But
Wow.
I can show you. You mentioned Emma
Yes,
Mockingbird
that's the cougar.
earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she didn't know who Ambush Bug was, although interestingly, her handler did. So I just asked her to give me something fun with Batgirl, and this is what she came up with.
Well, no, I like Emma's work. That came out really nice.
Yeah, I
It's
was
all
really happy with that.
watercolor. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that the one that was a bit risque. I tried figuring out how to use that on the show graphic, and it just was not going to work. So,
Yeah.
but I tried. I'm like, if I put the letters here and here, no, and then I'm like,
Yeah,
nah, Mike might not want that.
I remember distinctly asking him, I'd like Ambush Bug wearing Superman's suit like he'd stolen it, so it's got to be ill-fitting, and have some groupies. And this is what he gave me.
Yeah, no, well, he did it. He did a very good job with it too. So yeah, you have like what I think 14 pieces in your calf with ambush bug on it,
Well, see,
and
no better than I
another
do.
one is this next piece here. So let's go ahead and show that. So another remark
Yeah, so
by Adam.
this is Adam Hughes, and the original cover just has darkness there where Batman's cowl is. And I sent him a note saying, I'd love you to put Ambush Bug's face there. I'm going for the humor aspect. I wasn't sure if he would, because usually when he does remarks, they're just profiles of heads. But he gave me a quick Ambush Bug here, which was hysterical, and it just goes really well with his cover.
Now, is that one of the ones that where Adam did it at a signing at CGC? Or
Yeah, so I sent this in through the CGC website, and this is what came back to me. Both of
got
these
it.
two are.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember because he did that. Well, he's done a couple of those. The last one was maybe a year and a half ago, right? Where he did a lot of signings, but people could pre-order cover remarks. So that's how you got it.
Yeah, yeah. You
Cool.
just mail the books into CGC, and they send it off to the artist to have the work done, and then they do their grading and everything and send it back.
Awesome. Look at that. Seamus is doing some homework before I have a new guest on. He was in your calf, and he
Really?
just
Well,
discovered ambush bug today. So see, he's a fledgling convert into the ambush bug society.
excellent, excellent.
Number one Marvel fan says he loved the 1985 ambush bug mini.
Hmm.
It was very popular when it came out. Okay. I don't remember that. I was still buying comics back in 1985, though, but not a lot of DC. But that's cool that he did that. Let's see here. So I thought, where was it? I think I had one other. You had this nice. I thought the MC Wyman was fun. Here, I'll pull that one up too. Why?
Oh yeah, yes. I asked him to do something with Red Sonja, and uh, she was kind of chasing him or something like that, and this was his result. I don't know what Ambush Bug did to deserve her ire, but I'm sure he deserves it.
All right. I'll have to. There must be a definitive ambush bug book out there, right? Or something that trade to read.
I haven't seen one.
No, there is.
I was a little surprised. They did use him recently in the Fire and Ice miniseries. He made some appearances in there. So he is still bouncing around a little bit. But he was a Keith Giffen from the, he was used a lot in the 80s and 90s, but I guess DC's still using him.
Oh, Amy Reeder, you have a piece by
Oh, yeah.
Rob Lamb. Bissett. Oh, that's cool. You have a Bissett son of yeah, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah, I like that one. He drawing outside of the frame there with the casings from the gun, and they had a lot of fun making these books.
Bite my battle lust bully boys. Okay.
he's a fourth wall breaking character. He was one of the original ones, before She-Hulk and Deadpool and everyone else who's doing it now. And I thought he was just a very funny, unique character back in the 80s.
That's interesting. All right. Well, now I'm kind of curious. That's I definitely enjoyed the She-Hulk run, which was all about that, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. So Huh. Interesting. All right, cool. That's awesome. And Bissett, I would never have known that he even worked on a book like this. But Giffen writing it, that makes sense.
Hmm.
All right, let's see here. What was the next, or I should say, more like the first piece here, the published artwork, and we're talking about Giffen. So here
Yep.
we go.
And so this is Giffen drawing, and this is sort of a single page story. This is the entire story with Wonder Woman, so to speak. And it's just kind of the quintessential ambush bud because he's says something inappropriate and tries to trick her. He's kind of like the ultimate superhero stalker. Like he's obsessed with superheroes, and so this is him trying to convince Wonder Woman to uh, talk to him, and then he just says the wrong thing, and she puts him in his place. But it's also Giffen's art on this. I think is fantastic.
Well, I love the fact that there's no, panel gutters or anything there. It's just everything's butt up against each other. It makes for a very interesting page layout, especially with the word balloons even flow pretty nicely through this piece.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was never afraid to just like the close up of Wonder Woman there, and you can see, even though you only see like a quarter of her face, you can tell she's not happy.
right. Yeah, Rich James says Tothi. Yeah, the shadows definitely give that vibe. Just very, yeah, it's really nice. I'm looking at it like that. The fourth or fifth panel with Wonder Woman, the first one, the second line. I mean, there's just a lot of cool stuff going on in this one. Nice. Now, is something like this? Is this something you picked up from another collector, or did you
No,
have
this
an
was
auction?
actually a fairly recent pickup off of an auction.
Wow. Huh. Well, congrats. This is
I could
nice.
never find any original Ambush book stuff back when I was collecting. I don't know if I just uh, was unlucky or what, but I never came across any until recently.
Okay. The professor in the chat, Derek, has said that there was a Showcase Presents Ambush Bug collection in
Mm,
2009. So it's out there. I'm going to Heroes this
okay.
weekend. Maybe I
Okay.
can find something. I'll be on the lookout. There's plenty of comic book dealers to talk to and ask if they've got any ambush bug trades available. Let's see here. Now, this is the piece you were mentioning earlier, the Grindberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what you're saying was one of your first published pieces to pick up. I mean, this is pretty. A title page is a challenging piece to be your first one. I mean, did you second guess yourself at all while you were looking at it, wondering if you should lay the money down for it?
So I don't think so. You know, back then when I bought a piece, it was something that I really liked. I didn't have enough disposable income to just kind of pick up a little bit of everything. So um, this one, like I say, because of it was more than just black and white, and it was from a book that I read, and talking to the artist. There was something else about it, and I forget what, but I decided to pick this out of all the things that he had available. I've never regretted picking this piece up ever. It's still gorgeous, and yeah, I have a few. In fact, many of the ones I picked up back then were splash pages, first pages. There's two or three of them I have in addition to this, um, and like I don't remember it being especially pricey for what it was at the time.
Hmm.
Um, I don't
Well, this
know,
is mid '80s, right, or maybe late
something
'80s?
like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember when this one was published, but I want to say this is like $40.
which is about right for that period.
Yeah.
I'd say. And this is Bob McLeod inks and ink washes. I believe I saw CJ mention great tonal work.
Hmm.
Yeah, Bob's a great penciler and finisher. Certainly
Oh
he'll be
yeah.
at Heroes this weekend. No, this is a great place to start. I mean, Conan was a very popular book and magazine. This is from Savage Sword, right?
Yeah. I love
Savage.
Savage Sword. I read them all the time.
Well, No, this is great. And again, of all the when we typically are interviewing collectors, I mean, there's not many collectors that were buying art at this point in time. In the mid to late '80s. So you had the jump on all of us. Bill Rivard, who he mentions that Grindberg was
Yeah.
very reasonably priced at conventions in the mid '90s.
That's probably why I own several of his pieces.
Well, that's one way to get a lot of business.
Yep.
Rudders on the side of the boat. Well, there was probably some damage to the boat, Mr. Davies. You never know. Let's see. So I think we've got a Legion of Superheroes page next. Let's see which that was.
Yeah. So speaking of another intro page here, huge Legion fan, and Greg Larock was one of my favorite artists. I was really excited when I picked this up. Trying to remember what show it was, and I'm not sure. My memory from back then isn't great these days, but I'm pretty sure I picked it up from Greg, and he signed it for me. I just remember he was really interesting to talk to. I don't remember what we talked about, but I was hanging around his table for a while. These are all characters that I loved, and I liked they're all very different in their look. And I just thought this was a great page.
Well, it's another splash, like you said. You had picked up a few. Now, I wonder, it mentions that Dan Jurgens was also a penciler on the book, but clearly this was, Greg penciled it because he sold it and he signed it. Was there like a stamp or something on the back? Because a lot of artists at that time would, kind of make a note that they were the one who did the work on it, so that when it came time to sending artwork back, they knew which artist to send them to.
I don't think so, but I'll have to check.
Cool. Well, this is pretty cool. We have a lot of Legion fans, as I'm sure you've noticed on CAF. There's 3 or 4 collectors who are always in the market for Legion stuff. Mickey Anamadadu, you might have stumbled into his CAF gallery once or twice. He's got a rather large Legion of Superheroes collection, among others.
Yeah, there's somebody I'm following. I forget his CAF handle, but it seems like it's all Legion stuff.
Well, there's I always forget the name of the gallery. I shouldn't, but let's see here. Aiden Lacey, Legion. He has a lot.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, he's I'd say he and Mickey Anamadadu have probably the largest collection of Legion related artwork on CAF, but there's a few others. We've seen him in the chat. Whenever we have Jeff Moy on the show, obviously he's we get a lot of the Legion fans that turn up for those shows.
I'll have to check out their CAFs for sure.
Now, I knew this was Bart Sears without even, I saw the scan, and I mean, there's just something about the quality of the line work on the figures and the way he, has that fluid way of like drawing musculature and stuff. Like, you see the muscles in her back, or even on the other characters. It's just, it's it when you see that Bart had a hand in it.
And I love this piece because one of the things I love about his art is when you have her outfit there is metallic. You can tell it's a metallic, look compared to like her skin, even in just his black and white inks. I thought he had an amazing knack for that. And yeah. Sorry, I'm reading the.
I know Marcus wants.
Taro is always a great villain too. A little on the goofy side, which I appreciated. And yeah, I mean, he was one of my favorite artists as well. I used to read this series just because of his art, and when he left, I stopped reading it. So I was really excited to pick this one up. This is another one I've had since probably sometime in the early 90s.
Well, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of the artwork that you bought. I mean, have you ever sold pieces or traded pieces, or are you like the black hole collecting that some people who just never let anything go?
I have let very little go, and there's one piece that I am kicking myself over because it was a Kirby piece, an early X-Men piece.
What?
I traded it to that shop owner that I worked for. I don't even remember what the trade was for now, but it had Beast, Iceman, and Angel on it, and I wish he talked me into some kind of deal, and I was on the fence about it. Ended up doing it, and to this day I regret it. But which was probably why I'm reluctant to get rid of anything else in my collection at this point.
Because that one it stings to this day.
It does. It does. I didn't realize how hard it would be even back then to pick up another Kirby piece. And at the time, I suspect that he gave me I probably made a fair amount of money in the deal for a short turnaround, which at the time seemed like a good idea. But had I known,
Right.
but,
Well, I mean, if it's the late '80s or very early '90s, you think it's going to be
that was
easily
probably
replaced.
'86 that happened.
'86, man. I'm just graduating high school at that point, Mike. And
Well, me too. I
you're
graduated
trained.
in '87, but I was working. That was my high school. One of my high school jobs was helping them out. So
Well, I'm jealous, but still, you traded a Jack Kirby X-Men at the age of 17.
yeah, yeah. I was, young
1986.
and dumb, and I
Well,
was collecting books, comic books a lot then as well, and the art wasn't really my focus.
but how did you? Okay, so I mean, we can come back to the Bart Sears piece, but I got to know. It's like, where did you get it? How did you pick up the Kirby X-Men piece? I mean, those
I do not remember when I bought it. It must have been at a show because that's the
it
only
had to
time
have
I ever
been
picked up
right.
art. It was a dealer or and I suspect, a lot of the small shows around here, we had comic book dealers who had a little bit of art.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'd pick up stuff from that way as opposed to from the artists. But I don't remember, maybe there was one or two dedicated comic art dealers, but I don't remember that being a big thing, especially around here. These were all smaller shows. Now there were dedicated dealers when I went up to the Philly show, but those were a lot bigger. I don't remember the name of that con I went to, but so I probably picked it up from another comic book focus guy.
Right. Yeah, there were dealers in the '80s. I mean, not a lot, but the Buyer's Guide would have ads
Oh
for
yeah, yeah,
art dealers there too, and yeah, everybody's saying you would have kept a Warner Roth, you wouldn't have traded away an X-Men, blah blah blah. I
yeah,
get it, guys.
yeah. Yeah.
But still,
And I
that's
was
just
a huge X-Men fan. I mean, I got into collecting because when I was in the sixth grade, one of my classmates brought in The Death of Phoenix, among some others, and I read that one day in class. That's how I got started collecting, was with that book.
wow. That was a very yeah. That would leave an impression on you if that's the first.
That was it. Yep.
That was the one. Well, it was John Bernhardt. Story was great, and uh, people can fault Jim Shooter a lot for his decision making, but it made for his decision on that one made for a really great ending to the book.
It did. It did.
Southern Comic, he says, if only Cyclops would have died instead. Yeah, but if he would have, the whole universe might have gone up in flames. So I think if it all happened for the right reasons in the right way.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, he would have come back eventually. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, no, we don't need to. We can look at it one last time. The Bart Sears with the star out is a great image. I mean, this is from Justice League Europe 26. So fun stuff. I did not read Justice League Europe, but from everything that I've seen, it looked like half as funny as Ambush Bug with great artwork in it. And I
Yeah.
know that Bart is fondly remembered for his work on JLE.
Certainly by me. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I think we might even have. So he's on. We've actually got Bart on the show tomorrow. I think he sent me
Oh,
some prelim stuff to show off. I think there was a JLE piece or something there. I'll have to go back and look, but yeah, it'll be fun to talk to him again. And he's coming to OAX. He was there
okay.
last, in January, and he is coming back for our show in February.
Excellent.
Now you had to put this one up in early in here, the Willingham X-Men, and I did give you kudos for this in the write-up by saying, that there's clearly something, wise and astute about you for having a Willingham Elementals page in your collection, and this one, like, kind of, for me, you know, going back and looking at it, I mean, he's got the wolf, he's got some stuff going on here, and it's Willingham, and it, leads into other things that he were probably percolating in his brain at the time. But why do you love the Elementals enough to own a page from it?
Uh, I loved Willingham's art, and I thought the Elementals was a really interesting book. Um, there were, I started reading non-Marvel and DC books after the Turtles took off. There's so much stuff coming out, and a few things stuck with me, and Elementals was one. There was something about the art that I couldn't get enough of. And then I discovered like Ironwood and other stuff that he did around those earlier days, and
Hmm.
it was all wonderful. I stumbled on this page at one of the shows. I don't remember if I actually bought it from Bill Willingham or not, or from like a dealer or something. But this is the only piece of his art I have. A couple of people keep pestering me to sell it to them, but
I'm sure.
as my only piece from him, I'm not going to let this go. I don't think. Um,
So you did pick this up in kind of that first run of
yeah,
collecting.
yeah, I've had this
Wow,
one for a long time.
damn. Yeah, I've never known anybody who had picked one up at that point in time and still had it in their collection. I'm not pestering him. I've never asked Mike about it once. The page
No,
is great,
no,
because it's never been on the market. I think that's always a good thing. But you're right. I mean, same thing here. Willingham's art. I don't know if this was inked by Rankins or not, but Rich Rankins was always like my favorite
mm,
inker on him. And yeah, because I got turned on to his stuff from D&D, right? He did a lot of
yeah, oh
work with
yeah, yep.
DSR and the modules there, and I loved his artwork there, him and Jeff D and a few others. And when he started doing Elementals, the stories could have sucked, and I would have still been really happy because I liked his art so much.
Indeed.
Don't sell it.
Mm, okay.
Then where do we go from here? Richard Friend. This is
Yes.
I'm
So
gonna guess this is a more recent one, right?
very, but I had to include this one because this is the first thing I bought off of a CAF Live.
Oh, cool.
So this was from a couple of years ago. I think it was the spring one. Spring one last year, I guess. And I saw this while I was browsing around, and I'm not even a huge Batgirl collector. I have a couple of things from her, but I saw this and it just immediately struck me. And I showed it to my girlfriend, and she loved it. So I was like, okay, that means I can pick it up. So um, I decided to just immediately grab it, and I have no regrets about that. And this, uh, I didn't even know who Richard Friend was until I bought this piece. Um, I've since bought another piece from him, a Dark Phoenix piece this year, but his use of the blacks and that against the white negative space, and then that background is so dynamic and detailed. And her hair is amazing. This piece just really stood out to me, and I couldn't resist it.
Well, CJ is in agreement with the great hair comment. And Delight
Yeah.
Loves Movies says it's cool. It is a beauty. No, I love Richard's work is, he's been on the site for quite some time, and he's a prolific inker from the early '90s onwards. But yeah, I love his work. I mean, when he's kind of doing his own thing, and he's utilized Comic Art Live, I think, for several of the shows, maybe all the way back to the first one. So it's cool. I always love hearing when somebody bought something at Comic Art Live. It makes my
Oh,
day to know that the show has helped guys like Richard, and sell art and you pick up artwork.
there are two other pieces from this last Comic Art Live that we're going to talk about that absolutely blew me, have become immediate, just key pieces of my collection. So this last comic book live, I blew my budget right out of the water.
I'm sorry. So
Oh
that's
no, I no regrets, none whatsoever.
but you have no. Okay, well then that's good. Well, we'll talk more about that because I don't know which pieces those were that facilitated you to wipe out your budget early on. But well, all right. So this is great, though. I think one of these days I'm going to get Richard on the channel. Just I don't even want to have him come on for an art sale. I really want to talk to him just about his career and the anecdotal stuff from all the creators that he's worked with, because he's had the luxury of working with so many of the image guys, and you just know that if he ever could peek into what he has in his collection, that things that he's kept. I mean, our minds would probably split in two, because he's got such great he's gotten the opportunity to hold on to a lot of great stuff.
Yeah,
And you go ahead.
I was going to say I have a Madame Xanadu page by Amy Reeder that he inked,
Okay.
which is really nice as well. I picked that up at Baltimore from Amy this last year.
Well, see, you said the words that many of us have had to utter and ask in the past, which was you had to ask your significant other if they liked it too, and as long as you got the thumbs up, then you were good to go.
Well, I just like to bounce stuff off her sometimes if I'm on the fence, but I really wasn't on the fence on that one. But she just reacted very positively to it as well.
That is a good thing. Yeah, Maureen and I make some joint decisions on some things, yeah. Anyways, it's always a good thing to involve them. But now this next piece, well, you're gonna have to tell me about this one. It's a John Byrne commission style piece, Harley Quinn and Wolverine. Now I'm assuming you didn't commission John for this.
I did not. This is the thing that really blew my budget out in Comic Art Live.
Okay.
So this is one of the other two I was talking about, and coming from that John Byrne X-Men era. Finding a Wolverine in John Byrne's kind of trademark rubble scene, combined with the humor of Harley Quinn behind him like this, is sort of, this is like the perfect thing. If I had commissioned John Byrne, this would be the kind of thing I would have asked for. I love a little humor in my art a lot of times, and this is fantastic. I like Harley and her and Wolverine together like this. And I learned something about John Byrne buying this piece, because I learned about his Barney Rubble caricature that he puts in his Rubble scenes, and this one has one. And so for me, I was like, well, I got to pick it up, for that too. But this is an amazing piece to me, and is one of my favorite things in my collection already.
Yeah, I'm actually, I've heard of the Barney Rubble thing, but I never looked to know, if it were true or not. So it's true.
It is. I don't know if you can zoom in just below the signature in the bottom right. That's where it is.
Well, let's see.
I should have sent you a close up.
I'm going to have to switch over to a different, let's see, let me remove this window here and share a different screen. There we go. Let's see.
Yeah, so if you look just below it and on the right side, so just under the E in Byrne. There you go.
Oh shoot! I'm like looking at it, but okay. If you turn it, so he's basically, if you're drawing a line, it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30, something like that. Yeah, that's funny. Well, at least he puts it right, close to his signature, so you can't miss it.
Yeah, it took me a little while to find it.
Well, now we know. Now you're gonna every commission from John Byrne that I see now, they almost always had Rubble in them one way or another. So now I have to look for Barney Rubble.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a story on like what John Byrne's fetish with Rubble is, but he does such a good job with it.
Fred got left out. That's too. Rich Danny says he never heard of it. I had never heard of that. Honestly, that's. I mean, I'd heard of it, but I've never seen it. This is just so.
Yeah, it was new to me too, and yeah. So
was it noted in the piece when you bought it?
It was, yes. And that's one of the things that I read that and I was like, wait a minute, what? So
Sorry, I'm actually, I can go into Comic Art Live, so I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it right now. They did write that. They actually did say that if you look real close, you might spot it. I'm shocked. I mean, that's I've never seen one before. Well, yabba dabba cool, says Marcus. All right. All right. Well, from now on, whenever we're selling John Byrne commission work, we're going to be looking for the Barney Rubble. That's a new thing here. That's funny. That's really funny. Wow. Okay. Going with, but that's awesome. So it was a pickup Comic Art Live. You had to have it, and
Yeah.
well, I'm glad it worked out. I mean, we had a really good show this time around, and yeah, I had no complaints. I picked up some stuff, and I think a lot of other people did pretty well buying and selling this slash show too. Now, oh look, that one didn't. The color image from this one didn't upload. Let me
Mm.
get over here. Where are we? There it goes. There we go. All right.
Oh yeah, okay. So I picked this up from Selena off of her CAF account. I had never heard of her until recently. There's a number of artists were coming up that were brand new to me in the last few years. I'm learning about some of these artists that I didn't know about in the 90s. I think her covers are just amazing. And being a big Red Sonja fan, I wanted to get one, and this one came up and was available, and I reached out to her, and I've asked to be put on her commissions list. I don't know when or if that will happen, but I'm hoping at some point she'll do something for me. But I really like this one, and there's some of the other artists that do these more kind of realistic versions of these characters is kind of new to me, and I also buy some fine art and stuff. So this is a really nice blend of just great artistic talent with my hobby here. So it was amazing to pick this up.
Yeah, I think does she sell through eBay or
Sometimes she does.
okay.
This was on CAF first, but then the other piece, she put the prelim up on eBay, and I snagged it and wrote her and said, if I'd known you had this, we could have done this all in one deal.
Right here, I'll show that just so everybody can see. So I thought they would have come together, but they didn't.
They did not. I just happened to see it on eBay and was like, wait a minute. So, but her prelim work is bananas. I mean, this is all graphite, and she just painted from this. So, I don't know if she blew it up and then painted over it, or how she did it, but it's an amazing match.
Wow. Yeah, no, her work is pretty striking. She really does a great job with the figure. Nice collars, Marcus. But no, well, that's I think we'd all probably prefer if you can get the prelim at the same time when you're getting the published piece. That would be better, especially if it was a cover like this one was. It was a Empire of the Damned variant cover for a Dynamite book. I think we've seen some Joe Linsner pieces from Empire of the Damned too.
Yep.
But yeah, that's always the ideal. But hey, at least you saw it and you recognized it immediately. Because the pose and the tonal work was almost identical. So yeah, that's Delight even says I like the pencil one better. I mean, for those who prefer the black and white tonal work, I mean, I totally get that. You can to each their own. I'll switch back over to that one just to see it. And what's the size on the graphite piece?
That's I think it's 8.5 by 11, or maybe it's a little bigger. It's not huge.
Okay. And what about the actual published cover?
That's
was that on the wall?
Yeah, it's right behind me there. 11 by 17-ish, a little bigger, actually, probably 18 by 12 or so.
What's the Phoenix right behind you that we can't really see because
that's
not
a
in your
print.
set.
That's not an original. That's a print.
Oh, that's a print. Okay, because I was gonna say I know that's not in the set tonight.
No.
Well, there you go. It's a print. That's why we don't get to see that one.
Yeah. So
nothing wrong with prints on the wall. I've got I've got a few. But let's see, where are we going to from here? It's another Jean Grey piece, right?
Actually, so this
Oh
is
no, Hope Summers. That's right.
yeah, Hope Summers, David Mack. I picked this up from him at AwesomeCon a couple of years ago, and interestingly, it was a little less expensive than some of his other colored finished pieces. Um, and even though it wasn't, Phoenix, which is kind of what I was looking for, this I immediately fell in love with it when I saw it, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. It's the pictures don't quite do it justice. It's also up here on the wall behind me. But the colors are amazing. Her face is amazing, and it was after I paid for it, and he remarked a book for me. He said, "Oh, I think this just got picked up by Marvel Snap, but don't tell anyone yet." So I put it up on CAF, and every couple of months I'd check Marvel Snap. No new Hope Summers, no new Hope Summers. It was like almost a year later when they actually used it. So like, okay, now I can mention it.
Right, because you didn't want to blow it up until that moment.
Yeah.
So what is there, like a Marvel Snap database or something like that where you can?
Oh yeah, there's fan sites and stuff that show as soon as they announce this stuff's coming out, it's all over the internet. So you can see all the cards. I don't know. I never played it, but it's easy to get info on it.
All right. Yeah, I have Bart Sears has a snap card in the thing tomorrow. And I even emailed his wife, Michelle, and I'm like, was this used? Because I Google it and I can't find it. So I didn't even think that there might actually be database websites out there where you can look up, any snap card that's been created. Because, some of that stuff is digital and some of it's traditional. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, duh. Of course, there's probably, like you just said, there's probably a ton of sites that have
In
all
fact,
these on there.
I stole one of the pictures off one of the sites and put it on my CAF as the snap version of this on the alternate pictures.
Interesting. Well, I've opened up a Google search to it. So after the show, I'm going to look around. But that's good. So it did end up getting published. I mean, with this kind of stuff, you just never know, right? When it's going to make it into circulation. But
And and that stuff changes, especially digital assets. Who knows? They decide to change something or get rid of it or whatever. But I'm glad it made it.
Right. Awesome. No, I mean this David's work is consistent, right? When he does stuff with the figures. So this is very nice.
He's a great guy to talk to. He's always got interesting things to say.
He's had a good career and in the Marvel shows or TV shows and a few of the films and stuff. So he's been very fortunate. Now this is Phoenix, so I know that I didn't screw that one up. Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah.
This is a Bruce Timm pencil piece, which they're always fun to see. I always, whenever Albert does a drop, I'm always there to look whether or not I'm buying it. It doesn't matter, but I always got to check out when he's doing a Bruce Timm drop.
Yeah, and I picked this up from Albert's website.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things I was doing when I first kind of got back on CAF was I'd go through the various dealer websites from time to time and check and see what was around, and I saw this and immediately fell in love with it. And I've always loved Bruce Timm's stuff. I had in Fighting a Phoenix, because Phoenix is kind of my number one character besides the DC Death character that I collect. Those are my two main things. And so having this was a no-brainer. And then Marcus Y commented on the CAF about it, saying, there's a color commission that he did some time ago that looks very similar to this, and was wondering if this was a prelim for it. I don't know if it is or not, but they are remarkably similar.
Well, it is very, very nice. Definitely. So you've gotten a few comments from Marcus on your artwork over the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He, from what I understand, because he won the commenting award by a landslide last year. So
yeah,
I think he comments a lot, but he always has interesting and insightful things to say. So I love it.
Well, it's since we've initiated that award, he's won it every year. I think it's 4 years consecutive now. He's probably the only person with a trophy from every year because he keeps getting getting that award, and I don't see him getting dethroned anytime soon.
Well, if he ever retires, you're going to just have to name the award after him. Clearly,
Exactly. Right. The Marcus. Yeah. I don't know. We just call it the Marcus. There you
the
go.
Marcus. There you go.
Yep. What was that? No, Stinger says you can't find Bart Singers. Well, neither could I, but I've it's a Shanna artwork, and I've looked and I don't see it, but it's a finished piece, and maybe it's sort of like the David Mack piece, where it's going to get published at some point, but you don't know when. But I know that Bart did do work for Marvel Snap. He's had I don't think we've sold any of his things in the past, but I thought he had done some. But again, maybe it's all unpublished yet.
Yeah,
Ah,
like I said, that one took about a year from the time that he told me about it. So it's not a quick pipeline for them, I guess.
no. Well, they work with a lot of different creators though. So uh, we were just talking with John Crystal this past weekend, and he works with them too. And I guess they give him a list. They're like, here's a list of 12 characters that we need coming up. Which you can pick 3 of them. Which ones do you want? And that's kind of cool. You're going to get good work if you let the artist pick the characters.
Very true.
All right, where are we going to from here? It was after Bruce Timm, and
Okay.
then we have a Jay Lee, right?
Jay Lee, yes. Lady Thor versus Dark Phoenix. So this is sort of an interesting story. There was a Dueling Dealers I was on early 2024 with Jeff Dunn.
Yeah.
And he was selling a Dale Keown Hulk. You may remember this. The Hulk was basically given the Observer the middle finger. And I had asked to claim it, and Jeff thought I had claimed it. Somebody else had claimed another piece, but had gotten the number mixed up. And so after I had paid for it, this other person came back and said, "Oh no, I didn't want this other piece. I wanted the Hulk piece." So
I remember that actually. Because he and I had to try to figure out what happened there. I remember. Okay, so
yeah,
that's right. You were involved with that.
I was involved with that. Yes. So Jeff emailed me about this and said, "Listen, as far as I'm concerned, it's yours, but this guy's, would really like it." And so I said, he offered to, show me some other stuff he had. It's like, well, none of this really, is stuff I'm interested in. But, I don't want this other guy to feel bad. And this piece is nice. I don't have a Keown. I've always kind of wanted one. But he mentioned, well, I work with some of these other artists, and he mentioned Jay Lee. And I was like, oh, he's going to be at the Baltimore, and I was hoping to get something from him. If you could help facilitate an early commission, then let's do that. And so he did. I let the piece go to the other guy, and he talked to Jay and got his prices and everything. It ended up costing me a bit more money, but I'm super happy with how this turned out. And I think you may have to, I forget exactly, but Jeff said that he was driving all over Baltimore and DC trying to get this piece from Jay or something, or to him. And there was a lot of traffic, and I don't know, there's a whole story around just trying to connect over here. But so this is an homage to Silver Surfer 4. Mm-hmm. And Jay got Lady Thor pretty much exactly to Thor's position there. And although it's Silver Surfer, so Dark Phoenix doesn't match up with Silver Surfer's body position, but aside from that, it's a pretty nice kind of a redraw of that cover.
I mean, did you ask for that homage?
I did not. I just asked for characters, and he came up with that.
Sweet. I mean, I like it. I mean, you knew it right away, right? Because of her pose, the Lady Thor's pose. But I think it came out great. I mean, I'm impressed. It's a lot of detail. It's edge to edge. It looks like really nicely done. And the rubble. Yeah. There's no Barney Rubbles drawn in this rubble.
Not that I've been able to find. No.
I like the way he drew the Phoenix effect on her, though.
Yes. Yeah. And the fact that Phoenix is 3/4 of the image almost. Mm-hmm. It really works though.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh man, yeah, that's good. Let's see here. So what is next? A lot of color, I think, in the last sets of
Yes,
pieces here.
I have become fond of color pieces, I have to say. I still like the black and white stuff too, but color is not something that I ever really had a chance to pick up before. And for display purposes, I like it a little bit better, although I do have a lot of black and white up. Um, it's just sort of another dimension, and I don't know if I like it better, but I definitely enjoy them.
Well, we're going to take a look at a piece by Esad next, which
Yes.
is phenomenal. And yeah, I love this piece. I love Assad's work. You know, it's just so he his figure work. He just pulls it out of this, you know, this what feels like very loose, painterly, work on it here. But I mean, he gets so much out of just. See, you know, again, it's such a loose piece, but then you get into the figure work and pow, everything just it just pops off the page. And yeah, this is a good one now. But was this an aftermarket piece? Did you buy it from another collector?
No, this was an auction win.
It was okay.
It was. I want to say from Comic Link. Um, but yeah, I've he's another one that I've only recently become familiar with. And yeah, as CJ says, I'm a huge fan of watercolor in general. And so this really, as you said, just the way the layout is, the fire and ice dynamic, and he his faces are interesting. He's not afraid to like make Dark Phoenix here look really angry and a little, I don't want to say ugly, but like she's serious, right? And the White Queen looks a little haughty. I mean, he does such a great job with everything. Um, yeah, I was immediately enamored with this and was very happy that I won that.
So do you, you've mentioned before that you picked up a few pieces at auction. Is that, yeah, I'm kind of, I was into auctions early in my art buying. I
Mhm.
haven't bought a lot of stuff at auction, in the last, say, 4 or 5 years. But do you tend to, check the Comic Link auctions, go through the whole listings to see what they have available? I mean, how aggressive are you, or do you kind of go into those? Any auction really, just with specific wants as far as searches for artists and characters.
I tend to look through everything, um, mainly because I'm curious to see what the market is like. Because having come back into this fresh a couple of years ago, I don't do it quite as much as I right now as I did last year. But I'll follow a lot of things just to kind of see where they end up.
Hmm.
Um, and to be I early on I was becoming familiar with, and every site does it a little differently. So it's always an adventure the first time you bid on something, but I do find it's a good way to see things that I knew nothing about. I've learned about, like, the first time I saw his one of his original art pieces was on an auction, and that really kind of set me down uh, the rabbit hole of finding out who he was. And I forget who his dealer is, but it might be Anthony actually.
It
Uh,
was Anthony.
yeah, yeah. So and keeping an eye on his commission stuff, and was thinking about doing that. And then this showed up, and I was like, well, I don't need a commission if I win this. So,
That is
um,
true. Yeah, he's
yeah.
working with a couple Tamsin for his European art
Hmm.
sales and conventions, and he's working with Matt Tutulio now. Actually, yeah, Dak
Okay.
for his U.S. appearances and commissions. But yeah, he's a really really nice guy. I mean, I've gotten to meet him a few times at New York Comic Con, and
Cool.
he will be. Yeah, he's just a great talent. He's really, I've always been impressed by his work. I loved his work on Thor when he was working on that book.
Oh yeah,
There
some
was
of those are
there was
amazing.
always something fun coming out of that. I've never picked anything up by him yet. OAX 2026 Artist Alert. Thank you, Stingray. Yeah, so there you go, Mike. You can meet him in person if you can make it down next February for your birthday.
That's right.
Treat
That's
yourself.
right.
Uh, yes, there we go. So good stuff. Definitely good stuff. Then J.G. Jones is next, another one of my favorite painters. And yeah, he was at the first OAX, but I've always loved his work. And yeah, this is dark for JG in a way,
Yeah. And so I got this. I backed his art Kickstarter,
Mm.
and he had a couple of commissions available. And I was like, I love JG stuff. Let's do this. And this is what he came up with. I just asked for a Phoenix or Dark Phoenix, and when I first saw it, I was kind of stunned. Like, this is such an unusual pose, but at the same time, you get a sense of what's the power of her, and the colors are amazing, and I couldn't have been happier with this. This is just stunning.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I like JG's color work. I love his black and white tonal work. His work from like the comic book Wanted is always like some of my favorite painted interior work I've
Mm.
ever seen. I mean, he's just so talented, and his work on Black Widow was fantastic. Yeah, he's just he's just all around nice guy too. He's been in the business for a long time, but boy, yeah, you lucked out with this one.
Yeah, no disagreement here, that's for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like, you mentioned a couple of books there that I've heard good things about. I need to go back and, get some trades and stuff to read some of these things, because I've missed a lot.
All that too. Well, I think yeah, Black Widow I didn't pick up off the shelf, but Wanted I did, and it was because of his art. Just the
Yep.
covers were very interesting, and then when you saw that he was doing tonal interior work, right? That it
Mm.
just at that time was just kind of shocking. I remember I picked up a page from Wanted One because it was just too cool. Yeah, to see. Now it's like that's kind of like the norm. Everybody's, every artist that's inking their own work. There a lot of them are doing tonal work now, and it just makes the pieces look like finished paintings in their own way, even though they're panel, a standard panel interior page. It's just, I don't know. As somebody who, as we all do, appreciate the medium, it's just fun when you have a piece like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Dan Lawless, hey Dan, it's been a while. He's in the chat. He said you have to know what you're doing to make that angle work. Yeah, JG knows what he's doing, though, Dan.
Mhm.
Nice to see you again. And then this piece is on your back wall.
Yep. Yeah, I snagged this at Dueling Dealers. Um, Peach Momoko is another artist that I discovered when I started getting back into this early, and I read her Demon Days series, and loved it. She brings such a unique and different look to the characters. And being a big Phoenix fan, I had just started reading this book, and I think I picked up the issue that this cover was on like a week before it showed up on the Dueling Dealers, and I was like, oh man, I have to snag this. Um, and it's a gorgeous piece.
Peachy Keen. Yeah, I mean, as somebody who's bought things off of Dueling Dealers and other sales shows, I mean, what's it like in the moment when you see the piece, and are you like, you know, because obviously I've never had to be a buyer during the show. I just get to host it. But when that moment happens, and you see a piece you really like, I mean, how long does it to make that decision to go ahead and say claim 8, Anthony?
For this one, it was not very long at all.
Yeah.
It was a pricey piece, and it's on the higher end of what I've spent. Although for me, it was like, when am I going to see another Peach that is one of my number one characters, right? And so it didn't take very long at all. A lot of times in those shows, there's stuff I like, but I want to wait and see what the other stuff is. And so things have gotten away, and I haven't been disappointed about it really. But if it's something that, like the Massafara we're going to see here, same kind of thing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is amazing. I think I may have waited to the recap on the Massafara though, because that's the one I've spent the most money on any one piece, no doubt.
Mm. Well, they aren't. Yeah, I know how he prices them, but I get it. When you see a piece like this, the only time you never know when Peach might do something that's be going to be published as well, like this one was.
Mhm.
Your only other opportunity to get a character that you'd want would be if you could commission her, right? And she doesn't get out to a lot of shows. She certainly doesn't get out to enough shows here in the States. I mean, she had that bad experience in New York a few years ago, and
I didn't hear about
uh,
that.
yeah, just unruly people in line. You can only
Yeah.
imagine what that can get like. You get frustrated collectors and people wanting signatures, and it can get real ugly real fast, especially with somebody as popular as her.
Yes.
But yeah, so when you see it, you have to make sometimes it's easy to make that decision, right? Because it's very well done. It's a very cute painting, and yeah, I could see all the reasons that this would of interest you. Stingray says, "What? Peach doesn't sell covers anymore." I didn't know that. Huh.
Hmm.
Well, that would be discouraging for a lot of collectors if it were true, and make this even more valuable, Mike. At the end of the day.
Indeed.
Oh man, yeah. Number one Marvel fan says he needs to find the right Peach piece. Well,
Hmm.
you might be looking for a while if that's the case. So why don't we look at the Massifera, because that is next in the one you were just mentioning.
Yeah. So another newer artist that I was just kind of learning about, um, and I was blown away when this became available. You know, this cover's got so much going on, and in such a unique way with the dancers and infinity and everything going on there, and it was laid out so well, and I was intrigued with his art for quite a while. Um, he and Ross, again, these artists who are kind of doing things in a more realistic fashion, which was also kind of new to me. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? I fell in love with this as soon as I saw it. And I did a little math and decided it was worth pulling the trigger on it. Because again, I might find another Massafera, but again, this is Phoenix, and it was too good to pass up.
Right, it's the same costume as the Peach piece, right? Yeah, yeah.
Indeed, yes. And think I bought this one first, and then Peach later, but that was also part of the. Yes, these two are the newer costume. Um, which is kind of neat because so much of the stuff I do buy is kind of the classic Byrne version, Cochran Byrne version of Jean Grey.
Hmm.
So these are really nice to add to the collection.
Well, it's gorgeous. I love his work. And would this one be oversized a little bit too, or am I?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Wait, it is on your back wall, right? Here, let me switch
Yeah,
over
it
to
is.
your
I think
camera here.
it's the biggest piece I have besides that print. So that's also a print. But yeah, so you can see it up there. It's a good size.
Nice. Yeah, they are very impressive. Huh. But he has, his, you mentioned Alex Ross. There's to me they're not they're very distinctly different.
Yes.
Alex has his own style, but I like Massafera's because his colors pop. It's a little bit like maybe like Mike Mayhew when he paints traditionally. It just has
Mm.
like the color just seems a little bit more vibrant. I mean, Alex Ross is fantastic, but a lot of times I mean, I'm looking at a print on my wall by Alex, and he has like a color tone that like covers a lot of his paintings, and it
Mm.
just does it's different. But Massafera is not afraid to like play with colors that are gonna just vibrate and pop off the page, and like the fire here just yeah it's so rich and lush that
Yes,
yeah I love
that's a
it.
good word for it. It is very vibrant and very bright, and the darks are dark. It's a great piece.
Yes, Marcus, I have a frame print on the wall. Sorry to say, it's not, but there's nothing wrong with it. I've got it actually. It's Ross's. What was it? Is from X-Men 108, 107? I can't remember
Mm.
whichever the one when they were on the planet. It was him redoing it. Dave Cockrum signed it, and he and Alex Ross signed it. And I bought it at a Warner Brothers store. I might have bought that. It was probably bought right around like the first year that I started collecting original art. So it would have been like a 97-ish. And it is the largest thing in here because It's huge. I think it's about two
Yeah.
foot by 3 foot.
This one behind me, that's a Ross as well, Phoenix.
Hmm.
I may
Do you
replace that with something original at some point, but for now, it filled out the wall nicely.
There you go. See, Ross prints are okay to hang on the wall. because when you can't afford an original, a Ross print is okay.
Yes.
And CJ says 64 watching and only 29 likes. There's actually 69 people watching right now, and if there's only 29 likes, that's not a good margin, everybody. So hit the thumbs up, and don't forget after the show, leave some comments in the chat, just to kind of keep things rolling. We always appreciate that. So, and Chris C likes Felipe's work as well. Yeah. No, he does. I like his pencil work too. And I don't own any painted pieces by him, but I have a couple. Uh, gosh, one's like a pair of Spider-Man prelim pieces that he did, and he just got a nice fluid style. His pencil work is really nice. All right, hit that like, guys. Thank you. See, when Nick Barucci isn't in here to cheer us on, I need everybody else's help to do it. All right, so I think we're getting into your favorite character for the rest of the show here, as far as artwork that we're going to look at, and we have this
Certainly
piece.
equal Phoenix. I'd say they're 1A and 1B, but yeah, I was a big Sandman fan, and then when The Death, the High Cost of Living came out, that I fell in love with that book, and Bucklow's artwork for it, and it's still my favorite thing to collect. So this is a commission that I had done from Mark Buckingham before the last Baltimore Comic Con. I had him, signed up for it ahead of time and picked it up there. And I asked him, I'd like to get Death and Delirium together, and if she has her fish, great. And by the way, if you want to throw an ambush bug in there somewhere, that would be great. And lo and behold, he sneaks ambush bug's head in with the rubble. And it turns out that Mark Buckingham is a huge ambush bug fan. So he was tickled.
I didn't notice it until now. I don't.
Yeah, I had
looking at
no
the
idea,
fish.
but he said that was great. I laughed when so he, I feel like he enjoyed that, which I always love it when artists have fun doing the art that I asked for, because then, I feel like I get better work out of them, and they're happy and I'm happy, and this is a great piece from him.
So you worked with Joseph to get the commission, I think, or is this not when Joseph was with Mark at Baltimore?
This was with I guess it was Joseph, yeah. Or is it Albert?
Well, Mark's work. Mark is such a nice guy. I mean, his work is fantastic. I've always enjoyed, whether he was penciling and inking himself or somebody else was. He's gotten to work with great inkers, but this is gorgeous. This is really nice.
Yeah, I was so happy with this. It's amazing.
What was the process like working with Mark? Did he send you prelims at all, or did you just after you gave him the idea?
I just gave him a few lines saying I'd like these two characters, and I'd like Delirium to have her fish if possible, and that was it. And everything else is Mark. And I had no idea what I was getting till I got there.
Well, that's cool. That's always it's fun to have a little bit of mystery in it. But no, with Buckingham, you're gonna love the art no matter what, But my goodness, this came out fantastic. Composition's great. The colors are strong. I mean, the colors. I mean, the line work is strong on it. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, it's sometimes it's wise to prearrange, before a show to get something done, because he could never do something like this during the weekend of a con.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this is lovely. Wow.
The only other interesting thing was I was instructed to bring cash. They wouldn't take payment ahead of time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why not? They didn't. Well, probably because cash is king, right? I mean, yeah. Well, getting back in the country, it might be a little bit more difficult with that. Maybe electronic, funds transferring will be a better way to go in the future.
Yeah, I don't know. That's true. But yeah, so this is hanging on the wall behind me as well. I immediately fell in love with it. I was so happy I got this done, and he was great.
Yeah, congrats. I could, again, it's just such a great image. Oh, well, next up is, well, let me flip the slide here. A Adam Hughes death.
So I picked this up in 2023, the first Baltimore Comic Con I went to, and I credit this as kind of being what sucked me back into it. I've always been a huge Adam Hughes fan, and he was very busy, of course, and so I didn't really get a chance to get a commission or anything in there. But they had a bunch of sketch covers that had been pre-done, 4 or 5 of them. This one was noticeably more expensive than the others, and so Allison was there, and I asked her, "What's the difference between this one and all of these others?" And she's like, "Oh, well, Adam colored this one himself." And he normally hates coloring, but he's been reading Sandman and has been really into the character and wanted to do it himself. So again, it's got a little bit of humor. It's one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite artists. It was a no-brainer for me. And then I immediately gave it to CGC and to protect it, and they, confirmed it was his. And it was pretty funny because the CGC guy was there and he's like, "Yes, I can confirm. I did all the art on this." I think he was doing that a lot at that con. But but this is a great Adam Hughes as far as I'm concerned. I know that he's especially popular for his pinup work, but this is fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's so it's funny. So did you go to Baltimore with Adam Hughes as kind of like a target, somebody whose work you wanted to see, and did you go to him first?
I knew he was there, but so that first Baltimore, I went up there with a couple of boxes of books to give to Comic Link to auction off for me. Because at the time I was thinking, maybe I want to get out of the hobby, liquidate my whole collection, yada, yada, yada. But then being there at the comic convention, I kind of rediscovered why I had gotten into the hobby in the first place. And it brought back all these memories, talking to the artists, seeing all the art. And I just got sucked back into it. And I've been going kind of bananas the last 3 years. And this piece is what really was the tipping point that got me to commit to coming back into the hobby.
Well, that's great. I mean, well, Adam and Allison are great. Just they really treat the fans really well, and Adam gives every ounce of energy that he can into any of the pieces, and so that's awesome knowing that he colored it too, because like you said, a lot of pieces are colored by Allison, which turn out great. I think you have a piece in your CAF that you hope to get colored by Allison one day.
I'd like to, yeah.
Yep. Hard to top Adam Hughes, says Mr. Lawless. That's true. And you've got a few other pieces by Adam in your collection too.
I do. He's one of those artists who's just always very recognizable in most anything he does, especially when he's inking himself.
Mark Fong says possibly the smallest bust that Adam has ever been commissioned to draw. Well, remember, he wasn't commissioned for this one. He did this one willingly because he was reading Sandman. Yeah, that's true. And he did a phenomenal job on it. Oh man. So then we go from there to another popular artist, and this would be Mr. Sienkiewicz.
Yes. So this is the last piece that I picked up at Comic Art Live this year.
Oh, wow.
This had been done on the inside cover on the first page of an Absolute Sandman Volume 5. The original owner, I guess, brought the book in somewhere and had Bill do this. I don't know exactly when. So I saw it in the preview, and I immediately emailed him as soon as the place opened up, and the guy said I beat one other guy out who emailed him immediately, and he shipped me the whole book, which was great at protecting it. It is no longer in the book, and I will probably frame this one at some point. Always been a huge Sienkiewicz fan, and to have him find a death by him was just unbelievable luck. I was a huge fan of his Electra work back in the day. I like his style. It's so unique and, a little abstract, but you still know exactly what's going on. He's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, it's tough. I actually was talking to somebody today about artists doing sketches or really nice kind of commission style pieces on the inside of their books and stuff, and it's cool, but then you never get to see them, because unless you pull the book down, it's a piece of artwork that can be absolutely stunning, and then you just never go back to look at it, or you forget you have it, and uh, yeah, it's tough. And they were asking me about pricing on it today, and
Hmm.
I looked at it, and I said, well, again, if it was open and you could look at it every day, it would be this, but it's in the inside of a cover, so I think it's that, and and uh, but hey, I mean, this started its life there, right? And nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. I mean, it's got everything you'd want in a Sienkiewicz, especially that where it's on a black background, and he's just getting to be fun and painterly and play
Yeah,
around with the line work there. I mean, that's cool.
yeah. I was blown away as soon as I saw it.
Marx's Whiteout might be Bill, or must be Bill's second most popular art tool. Maybe, I don't know. But no, that turned out fantastic. And again, congrats, another Comic Art Live buy. Let me see here. Our next piece. Oh, this one's gorgeous. Let me flip this over here. So Sean McManus, I've always loved Sean's stuff. He's his well, just again, it's back to his black and white tonal work is just very painterly, and
Hmm.
he just has a fun way of drawing the figure. He kind of matches a caricature style to whatever the character is that he's painting, and it just works. It almost feels like, I mean, he's a cartoonist, and it
Hmm.
shows. And this
Yeah.
again, this piece is just fantastic. Not only just because the composition's great and the figure work is great, but because it feels like something Sean did.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very distinctly him. Um, so at the 2024 Baltimore Comic Con, this was part of the Hero Initiative auction.
Hmm.
And I was there with my friend Matt, and this piece came up kind of late in the show, but the bidding starts going up a bit and it pauses. And the guy running the auction, he starts extolling, saying, Sean doesn't do a whole lot anymore, but he always does one of these for us every year. And this is a great piece. Trying to get the price to go up and everything. And my friend Matt is sitting next to me, going, "Shut up, stop talking, shut up." It took all my effort not to burst out laughing while he's trying to sell this thing. And then I got it for what I consider to be a steal at that auction, and it's yeah, it's an amazing piece, and it's up on my wall over next to me on the other wall here. But so
Yeah, Sean, that he had contributed a piece for the last OAX auction.
mm,
That was 100% for the Hero Initiative. And it was a Batman piece, and
mm,
it was, and it was shipped to me, so I got to see. I hadn't really seen a lot of his work, in hand before, and yeah, he's just so talented. Yeah, I've always enjoyed it, but not, and having seen it in person now, it's like I'm blown away by him. I hope he contributes another piece next year to
yeah,
as
no
the Hero
kidding.
Initiative art piece. Hopefully, it'll be like Marvel. Might be like Jean Grey would be good. Let's see.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
see him take on
Oh no,
on
let's not do that. I can afford that.
that. And yeah, it was. I assume Tim is asking. It probably was Scott Doonbeer who was doing the auction for the Baltimore charity
Probably.
stuff,
He
right?
he used to be a dealer who I guess repped Sean, if I remember correctly. So
I know he
that's
worked with. Yeah, that would have been Doonbeer.
okay.
I think he repped him. I know he did work with him in the past.
Hmm.
So and
He was
Doonbeer
definitely a friend of
does.
his, so that sounds right.
Okay, yeah, Newell says it was. So
Okay.
anyway, yeah, no, that's cool. That was Newell was at the auction too. Yeah, I've been to a few of the Baltimore auctions. I haven't gone the last couple of years, but cool, very very nice piece. And then we have one other piece, and this is the one that you were mentioning early as well, the Chris Pachalo high cost of living page. So let's
Yes.
flip over to that. There we go.
So I bought this from Chris at that Philly show, and I distinctly remember having this page and another one open. He didn't have a ton of stuff left from the series, but he had a couple of really nice pages. I don't remember what the other one was, but I ended up buying this one because of what was on the back of it, actually.
All right. And I know you just gave me a scan of that. So let's see.
So he had tested different hats out on Death for this issue, and it's a little hard to see in the scan, but he has the floor plan of her apartment back there. And so with all the extra sketching and stuff, I was like, I got to pick this up. This is extra art on the back. And, I hadn't seen a page that had this much included. And this is, my number one piece of my collection. I think this is my cornerstone and the thing that my kids will be selling when I'm gone, and I'm not going to sell it. So, but Chris was great to talk to. And, I was sitting there thinking, these were, I don't know, I think I paid $450 or something, which, and was a lot of money in 92 or 93, whenever this was. And I remember thinking, I can't afford both of these, but I wish I could.
Yeah, we've had a lot of, we all have those kind of challenges. And this was inked by Buckingham too. So you get let me switch back to the inked page too. So,
yeah. The two of them together in this whole series, I fell in love with the series and I fell in love with the art. And so I've been following both of them for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the construction of the page is really nice with the gutters all filled in black. I mean, it's just perfect. And yeah, for $450 at that point in time would have been a lot of money.
Yeah, but totally worth it.
Let's see, I'm looking at, so you just posted this to CAF. No, that's okay. You posted it last year in June. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's funny. How is it possible you don't even have a single comment on it? Not even, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna throw a link in the chat so at least Marcus could comment on it. There you go. How does a piece like that not even have one comment on it for a whole year? It was added in June 3rd of 2024.
There you go.
All right. It's got 4 likes on it and it doesn't have a single comment. So, all right, well, there we go. We've thrown it out there. But like you said, it's back then it would have been tough to pull the trigger on a piece, that cost anything that cost over $250 back then. So it's commendable not to let the price intimidate you.
Yeah, I knew I had to get something from him, and he had some other pages that were well outside of my budget, I think, as well. But I was just super happy to pick this up and have that much Death on the page. I mean, she's in almost every panel there.
Right, and you also have, I'm just looking at your CAF. So you've gotten a fair number of convention sketch pieces from him, and you even have a nice Doctor Strange TPS from him as well.
Yeah,
really nice.
That Doctor Strange run I ran. I was back to buying books for a little while because there happened to be a comic shop next to where I was working. And when I found that run, I bought that religiously. That was a great run with Doctor Strange. He does the paranormal stuff so well.
Show that one. Yeah, no. I mean, look at that. Actually, I probably should open it a little differently. You're just zoomed in. There's just too much art here. Let's.
Yeah, it's a big piece. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I need to rescan. I rescanned a bunch of stuff for some of the stuff that I was coming on the show for to get better copies because I've been taking photographs before I got a flatbed scanner, and I haven't gone back and rescanned everything. But and now this one's actually framed on my wall as well, so that's going to be a problem. But it's all right.
I know. What are you going to do? I did the same thing early on. I've framed too many things of late, but early in my collecting days, before I had a good scanner, same thing. I framed them. I was like, at the moment I bought them, I'm like, I took them to get them framed, and then you think about it afterwards. Well, wait a minute, I have CAF, and I can't even put a decent scan on my own website because I framed the artwork.
You got to have your priorities,
You do. But no, this is beautiful. Really, really nice. And the other pieces you have by see, let me back up here. And all of these. Chris is just solid. He
Yeah.
never does a bad sketch. I mean, I know
Mhm.
like he does a lot of these on the card comic boards, right? And
Yep.
it's
Yep.
okay. I don't mind. I actually have a few myself. I've bought at least 5 or 6 over the years, and they're just always they're everything you want out of a piece by Chris.
Yeah. And he seems to like enjoy doing them as well, which is great.
Hmm. All right, so now I'm curious. Now that I've seen a piece of yours that has no comments on it, look at this. What piece has the most comments is a recent mystery sketch. How is that? How is that even possible? All right, I'm totally,
Are you kidding?
I'm
Oh my God! I didn't
that
realize
is
that was
that,
at the
that is an
top.
"Are you kidding me" moment right there. Your Dexter Wee, Red Sonja that you just got. And when
Yeah.
it goes to CAF on the 12th.
Yep.
So not even a week, a week ago has passed, and that is your most commented artwork in your CAF gallery. Here, I'm
That's
just going to put
hilarious.
this. I'm going to put this link in here for everybody too, because there's an injustice going on here that Michael's posted all this great artwork, and he's not getting a lot of comments on his stuff. So we need to fix that. So, I mean, look at that. But that is funny. I mean, exactly. And, there's John Morris in the chat saying next represent. Exactly. No, that was a great piece. We got to see Dexter work on that piece on the kickoff show. He was doing that live on Friday before Comic Art Live. And yeah, that one came out great. All of Dexter's pieces were great. He has a knack for he like John does a lot of his stuff edge to edge, just fills the whole page with art.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, that came out wonderfully. And I think we all thought that piece was going to Alberto, because Alberto, he always used to only ask for Captain America on his mystery sketches, but the last couple, it's either Captain America or Red Sonja. So you just assume
Yep.
that every piece is going to Alberto. And
Sorry,
but
Alberto.
yeah, this is yeah. Yeah, there you go. Seamus says we were trying to claim it on the show. Exactly. It came out phenomenally. I mean, Dexter's been doing really, really nice work. I mean, look at that. It came out wonderfully. Another satisfied mystery sketch buyer. That's always good.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, and this has popped up in my search a few times. The Vanessa Del Rey Delirium piece.
That was also a mystery sketch.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I did. Oh, that's probably why I remember seeing it. I didn't know that was a mystery sketch. That's okay. So that was from the November show. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, you've made out okay.
No complaints. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I got an ambush bug this year too, which was really really nice. So yeah, the mystery sketches are great.
See, the ambush bug is not in your top commented pieces, though.
Uh, well,
Yes, I do understand. Well, that's awesome, man. That is really good. Well, that's wow, cool. So, anyways, enough links have been thrown out there. Throw some comments on this man's CAF gallery, please. Come on. Like, I mean, that's that is truly an injustice, like I said. But again, Dexter's piece is fine. Look at that Frank Thorne.
So
That's
that's the one I was talking about that I picked up from Anthony at
I
the
was gonna
first
say that
show as
looks
well.
familiar.
Yeah, so that's a pinup a published pinup page, and it came with a small prelim, this page, and then a separate layout page, all three together. And then at one of the dueling dealers, or no, one of the Anthony shows I found on his website, this piece, which was, there's the published page. So this I found later, and it looks like it could be a more complete prelim, or at least a copy of what he had done same
Right.
year. So I picked that up as well. It sure looks like it could have been a late prelim that he ended up giving to someone, but so I have like 4 pieces related to this art here, and then they republished it recently, somewhat modified. That's what that last one
That
was.
color one, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a modern reprint that they changed a little bit, but it looks like it's from the same. Yeah, there's the other prelim. That's a small piece, but that's what it started from, I guess, and then it grew from there.
Right, but you have the prelim too?
Yeah, all those top 3 pieces came in one package.
Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did remember. Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
this looked really familiar, but this was like a warehouse show, wasn't it? Maybe
No,
or
no, I got this in Baltimore in 2023.
oh, you
That's
got
the
it direct from
same
him
time
in
I got
Baltimore.
that Adam Hughes. I picked this up from Anthony.
Oh, okay. I feel like he might have shown this once on a show, but maybe he's shown a lot of Frank Thorne pieces.
Yeah.
So, uh, uh, interesting. Well, this is great. This one's a really nice one.
Yeah, and for me, I picked it up because as a big Red Sonja fan and reader back in the day, Frank Thorne is the Red Sonja artist, right? I mean,
Hmm.
how could I be a Red Sonja fan and not have something by him? So,
Nope,
and this was a
I'm with
really
you.
nice one.
Every time Anthony shows off one of those published Thorne Red Sonja pieces, I think about it. It's like, but you know what? I still want my Kubert Hawkman page first. So I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
gonna.
Yeah,
Those are very pricey interiors. So for me, I have to go with I'm waiting for the right Kubert
gotcha.
Hawkman. That'll happen. It's gonna happen one of these days. But James Siegel, I think, picked up a really nice Frank Thorne Red Sonja interior piece
Hmm.
a few months ago
There's been
too.
some
So
good
that's
ones lately.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, so all right. So I think you're gonna get a few emails tonight from comments. You have the app too, so you can get the comments. You
I
can talk about.
do. I do. Although I have it on Android, and every time I try to open a comment, I get an error saying it couldn't load something and just goes to the homepage. So,
Why did you tell me about that? If it's a bug, you got to report it.
well, it's happened a couple of times, and I wanted to be sure it was consistent.
Hmm.
But
Does it
next
happen
time,
all the
I'll send you a
time?
screenshot next time it happens.
Yeah. Well, when you send it, make sure you like timestamp it because then I can
Hmm.
be very specific to the developer and say, at this time this
Okay.
happened. Explain it.
Yep.
Right? So, no, because I mean, I have like a Pixel 2, so I have a really old Android that I tested on, and I've never seen anything like that. But
Okay.
it's always good, there's always something, right? It's like
Oh yeah.
it's tough. Designing apps is much more difficult than designing web pages.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
because of all the variations and phone versions and stuff. I mean, and then you're dealing with so many preferences and properties for stuff that you just yeah, it gave me fits. I was sick by the end of it, as
I
many
bet.
of us were. Yeah, but okay. But before we go, you said you're a web developer. So what do you do for a living?
So I work for a small company here. Um, we have a defense contract that most of the developers work on. I've had done some work for them in the past. At the moment, though, I'm the entire uh, web IT and development side for our commercial products. So we have a number of customers that have websites of everywhere from little brochure sites to e-commerce sites. And so I kind of do everything except the design work, which is what my boss does. He's the owner of the company.
So you
Um,
handle the
so
server side and the
I'm in
coding.
the end and do everything from the AWS, setting up the AWS servers to uh, pushing the code out in production and everything in between. So, and we're working on an app as well, but it's only on iOS, and that's complicated enough. I can't, we want to put it on Android someday, and I'm not looking forward to trying to do that. It's a
Yeah,
two-man
our
shop.
life was very easy when we were just were focused on iOS. The moment we put Android into it, everything went out the door
I
because
can only
it's just
imagine. Yeah.
they're just not the same. There's just
No.
so many other things to account for, and yeah, that was eye opening. You think that it's a executable and it's just run right, and
Mm.
and not have to have things for different platforms because you don't have to it's not like you're developing differently for Firefox or Safari or Chrome.
Yep.
There's anything that's that unique there, it's usually just based on formatting and
Mm.
design stuff that you have to worry about. This one accepts this one doesn't, but the nuts and bolts are all the same.
Yes. So
Database development and everything. So oh man. Well, that's cool, man. It's good. Well, see that we have something in common already.
absolutely.
How long you've been doing this? Well, since the mid '90s.
Yes, actually. So before I worked here, I spent 16 years working for AOL, America Online, back in the day.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, yeah.
Um, I started doing technical support there and then got into doing development. And I was working with a client team, so I know all about building one thing on multiple platforms, let me tell you. Um, but yeah, so I did that for 16 years, and I've been at this current job for just about as long now, I think, coming up on 16, actually. So yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, Southern Comic Geek says she set up Berkey's web address for him, or
Oh, cool.
Albert's, because they're both on AOL still to this day.
I noticed that when it comes across. I'm surprised,
Yeah,
but
whenever I'm over at Mike's house, he literally is using the AOL browser still for for everything. It's
okay.
hard. I've tried to get him out of AOL's browser so he can just use Chrome or
Uh-huh.
Firefox or something other than that. But he's stuck in that AOL world. He probably
The
still has his DVD or CD-ROM to get him started, or a floppy. Shoot, remember
Yeah,
those
oh
times?
yeah, oh yeah.
You were there in the floppy days.
Yes, yes. I remember when we had a client on the Apple II. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Wow. Now that's sick. That's crazy. All right. Well, listen, Mike, we could talk tech all day, but we would be boring the heck out of our audience. So,
yeah, I'm sure.
so I hope you can make it to OAX. It's a birthday party. That'd be fun. We can get Sharon to bake a cake. I bet, at least cupcakes.
Yeah,
She
that's
she
right.
would do it anyway, so we could just say that one of them were for you and get a candle and everything. And
That'll work.
yeah, that'd be fun. But yeah, please, yeah, that's cool. So next show that you're at, if anybody's, where could somebody meet you next? If they're going to a show, is Baltimore really like the next thing you would go to?
I think so. I haven't committed to it yet, but I'm 90% sure I'll be there at least 2 of the days.
All right, cool.
It's kind of a toss up whether I get a room up there and stay for the whole weekend or if I just drive up for a day or two because Baltimore's not that far.
Hmm.
Um, it'll probably depend on how many artists are there that I want to get work from.
Right,
So,
right. Well, we found that pre-booking is the best
yes,
approach.
yes.
All right, man. Well, listen, always fun. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah,
When you
thank you.
popped up in the chat, I've been seeing what you've been posting in the last year plus. I figured it would be a cool interview to do with somebody who's kind of new to the scene, at least for us. Even though I knew that, like, from looking at some of the pieces, that you had them for a while. So that's definitely not many collectors have had a 30-year hiatus between the time they started and the time they got back into it. That's a rare thing.
Yeah, I didn't think that was too common, and so I'm still kind of learning as I go here with the way the hobby is these days. But it's a lot better than it was in the '90s. I mean, it's great. So I'm having a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you for doing it. Everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us this evening. It was a lot of fun. And I'll be back at it tomorrow night with Bart Sears. We'll be looking at, I don't know how many pieces he's got, maybe 24 pieces of art for sale. So it'll probably be a shorter show, maybe an hour and a half or whatnot, because we've already interviewed him a couple times. So only so many things we can talk about. But he's a good person to chat with. So I hope everybody can tune in tomorrow night at 9. And then after that, it's Heroes. For those of you who didn't hear, we're doing a meetup at the Charlotte Beer Garden on Thursday. So the day before the show starts at 6 o'clock. Probably go from 6 to 9 or whenever we feel like being done there. We're just doing a kind of informal get together. Anybody that wants to show up. I've been a few people have RSVP'd, and I think we have at least 2 dozen people who are going to be there. So it's probably going to be more like 3 dozen by the time it's all done. So it'll be a good time. Hopefully anybody who's there can stop by and tip back a pint with the CAF team who's in there. It'll be me, Kazra, and Matt Tutulio that night. We'll be hanging out. So we hope to see you there. And again, thanks, Mike. And we'll talk again with
Good.
everybody soon.